I'm a big fan for a deal. Like if we buy something and they say, oh, by the way, for just this little bit more, you get these additional features or functions. I'm a sucker for that almost every time. Well, in the world of security for our switches, if we've implemented DHCP snooping, our switches are listening to all the DHCP traffic. They're keeping the rogue DHCP servers out. But at the same time, they're also learning the IP addresses that have been assigned to our clients, and they know their associated layer 2 addresses. And that's in a binding table. What we can do is we can enable another feature called SourceGuard. And what this does, it helps protect the network against those hosts that are now connected to the network from lying about their source IP addresses or lying about their source MAC addresses. Let's take a closer look. So let's use this scenario where we have an access layer switch. DHCP snooping is already enabled. Here's a DHCP client. It did a discover, offer, request, acknowledgement process with the DHCP server. So in addition to what the switch normally knows, which is the layer 2 address and what port it's on, the switch also now knows, because of the DHCP snooping, it now knows the IP address and the MAC address that are associated with this port. Now, what we could do with that, and this is really, really cool, is called SourceGuard. And with SourceGuard, we can go to this interface, this port on the switch, and we can say, dear Mr. Switch, if traffic coming in on this port, if it does not have the source address of this IP address, and it does not have the source MAC address of this coming in, go ahead and deny the traffic. So that way, if the client is running some kind of software or malware that's trying to trick the network and spoof source addresses or source MAC addresses, the switch can go ahead and drop it right here just by using SourceGuard. And so let me take you to a network where we already have DHCP snooping installed, it's working and functioning, and what we'll do is we'll simply add on the command for SourceGuard on this port. In fact, let me show you what that command is. In interface configuration mode, the command is IP verify source. Now we could press enter right there after we type in source, and that would verify that the source IP address is correct. But if we want to include the source IP address and the source MAC address, we can add on the next keyword, which is port security. So if you're like me, when I saw that keyword port security for the first time, I thought, port security? Wait a sec. Port security is the feature where we're controlling the number of MAC addresses on a port. So it's very likely when these commands and these security techniques were created, it was probably two separate teams. And they both didn't realize they're using the same kind of concept or term of port security. So here, as used as part of SourceGuard, when we use the port security option, it simply means besides the IP address verification of the source IP, also let's verify the source MAC address associated with that IP. And that's what it means in this context. So this is a one-liner command to add in interface configuration mode on a port. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that for you. So here in the access switch, let's just confirm that DHCP snooping is working. We'll do a show IP DHCP snooping, enter, and it is. And if we do a show IP DHCP snooping binding, it can show us what it already knows about. So in the binding table, it says, yep, I know about this IP address with this associated MAC address, and it's in VLAN 30. I learned about it via DHCP snooping. And it's also possible for us to manually enter IP addresses and MAC addresses to become part of this table. This is just showing us how this entry right here was learned via DHCP snooping, and it was learned on gig 0/1. That's where our client is. So if we wanted to add SourceGuard, we could simply go into interface configuration mode and use the command IP verify source space port-security, and then going forward on this port, any traffic that is sourced from an IP address other than this one, or if it's sent from a layer 2 address other than this one, the switch will drop the packet right there at that switch port. So let's go into configuration mode. We'll go into interface gig 0/1, and we'll issue the command IP verify source, and then if we wanted to, this is implying that we could press enter right here, carriage return, and that would just verify the source IP address, or we could add on the keyword of port security, and that's now also going to verify the source layer 2 information in each of the frames coming in on that port. And then we can do the command show IP source binding. This is just simply showing us the table that it's going to be pulling from. So right now we only have one entry that was learned via DHCP snooping. It's for that client. Then if we do the command show IP verify source and press enter, it'll give us the details on what it's controlling. So the show IP verify source says that, okay, on gig 0/1, I'm going to be watching for the source IP address and the source MAC address. And then regarding what source IP address and layer 2 address to compare against and allow, it's using and leveraging the information that was gained via DHCP snooping. So if the client spits out a source MAC address other than this one, or it spits out a source IP address other than this one, the packet will be dropped. Based on this add-on feature that we just put in called SourceGuard. In this video, we've taken a look at how we can improve our security by adding on SourceGuard. So since we already have from DHCP snooping information about the layer 2 address and associated IP address, with SourceGuard, we're simply training that interface that, hey, if any traffic comes into this port and the source address or for the layer 2 or the source address for IP is wrong or doesn't match up, go ahead and drop it right there, which is an awesome security measure. So thanks for joining me in this video. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.